Skylar Vox was 22 years old. She lived in a vibrant, neon-lit high-rise apartment in the heart of downtown Miami, a space that was a physical manifestation of her online persona. Modern, colorful, and constantly buzzing with energy. The walls were adorned with pop art, and a state-of-the-art streaming setup occupied one entire corner, a testament to the empire she had built. Her annual income was a staggering $1.2 million, a fortune earned almost exclusively through her dominance on platforms like OnlyFans and her status as a top-tier performer for major studios, a rare feat for someone so young in the industry. She was a digital native superstar, known for her petite frame, her girl-next-door charm, and a seemingly boundless, playful energy. But the woman known to millions as Skylar Vox, with her bubbly social media presence and youthful exuberance, was a meticulously crafted character, a fortress built around a girl named Chloe, whose story began not in the pursuit of fame, but in a desperate, heartbreaking attempt to save the one person she loved most. Chloe grew up in a quiet suburban town in North Carolina, in a small house that always smelled of hospital-grade antiseptic and simmering soup. Her older brother, Kyle, had cystic fibrosis. From the time she could walk, Chloe's life was intrinsically tied to his illness. While other kids were at soccer practice, she was learning to administer his meds. While they were at parties, she was reading to him during his lengthy hospital stays. She was his protector, his best friend, his fiercest advocate. Her own needs, her own identity, were always secondary. Physically, she was the polar opposite of her frail brother. She was tiny, barely over 5 feet tall, with a slender, almost delicate build. Her most striking features were her large, expressive green eyes, which held a wisdom far beyond her years, and a tiny narrow waist that made her look perpetually youthful. Her breasts were small and natural, a fact she never gave much thought to, as her body was merely a tool to help care for Kyle. Her escape, and their shared sanctuary, was the internet. They were a team, Kyle, with his sharp, strategic mind, and Chloe, with her quick fingers and natural charisma. They built a popular gaming channel together, with Chloe as the bubbly, on-screen personality, Sky, and Kyle as the anonymous, behind-the-scenes producer and strategist. For a few glorious years, they were invincible. The money from ads and donations wasn't much, but it was theirs. It was freedom. They dreamed of using it to travel, to see the world beyond the 4 walls of his room. But cystic fibrosis is a relentless thief. Kyle's health began a steep, irreversible decline. The experimental treatments he needed were not covered by insurance. The numbers were astronomical, a mountain of debt that their gaming revenue couldn't even begin to scratch. Chloe, at 18, watched her brother fade, and the feeling of helplessness was a physical agony. It was in a moment of sheer, desperate panic, scrolling through fundraising sites, that she stumbled upon the world of adult content creation. She saw the numbers girls were making. It was a different kind of mountain, but it was one she thought she could climb. She made a decision that would cleave her life in 2. She created a secret persona, Skylar Vox, a name that sounded like her gaming alias but was distinct enough to protect her family. Using a webcam in the dead of night, she started posting content. It was terrifying and alienating. The bubbly Sky persona from the gaming channel was a performance, but this was something else entirely. It felt like a betrayal of the innocent world she and Kyle had built. But the money started coming in. Fast. It was enough for the first round of treatments. She told Kyle a lie, that a wealthy, anonymous fan of their gaming channel had donated the money. He believed her. His hope, rekindled, was both her salvation and her damnation. She went further. She accepted an offer from a studio in Miami. The paycheck was life-changing. She told her parents she had landed a social media influencer job that required relocation. The guilt was a cancer growing inside her, but Kyle was getting better. That was all that mattered. Her first professional shoot was a surreal out-of-body experience. She performed with a hyper, almost manic energy, the Skylar Vox persona a shield against the reality of what she was doing and why. The director loved it. "You've got this incredible, playful energy," he said. "It's authentic." He had no idea he was filming a desperate sister's prayer. She sent every dollar home. Kyle was approved for a new, groundbreaking treatment. She had done it. She had bought him more time. The first part of her journey was a sacrifice born of a profound, desperate love. The second would be about the psychological cost of that sacrifice and the struggle to find the girl named Chloe inside the empire of Skylar Vox. For the next 2 years, Skylar Vox was a phenomenon. She was everywhere, on the front page of every major adult site, in high-budget feature films, and dominating social media with her playful, accessible brand of sexuality. Her petite frame and youthful look, combined with her seemingly inexhaustible energy, made her an instant favorite. The money was a tidal wave. She paid for Kyle's treatments in full, moved her parents into a better home, and secured a future for her brother that was no longer overshadowed by medical debt. On the surface, she had achieved the impossible. She was a hero. But living as Skylar Vox was a form of psychological torture. The duality of her existence was a chasm that grew wider every day. In Miami, she was the bubbly, carefree star, partying at clubs and laughing on camera. In phone calls with her family, she was Chloe, the devoted sister, spinning elaborate lies about her social media marketing job. The guilt was a constant, gnawing presence. She felt like a ghost in both of her lives. She started to dissociate during her shoots, her mind drifting far away from the set, back to the hospital room in North Carolina. The playful energy that was her trademark became a heavier mask to wear with each performance. The breaking point came when Kyle, his health miraculously stabilized, decided to surprise her. He and her parents pooled their money and flew to Miami to visit their successful daughter. They showed up unannounced at her high-rise apartment. Chloe opened the door, and the two worlds she had fought so hard to keep separate violently collided. The look on Kyle's face as he took in her lavish, neon-lit apartment, so different from the humble home she described, was one of confusion. Then, his eyes fell on a framed magazine cover on her wall, a provocative image of Skylar Vox. The silence that followed was the most deafening sound she had ever heard. The betrayal in his eyes was a physical blow. This is your job," he whispered, his voice weak from the travel but sharp with hurt. "The money. All this time, it was this?" The confrontation that followed was brutal. Her parents were heartbroken and horrified. Kyle felt lied to, his recovery tainted by what he saw as his sister's degradation. He screamed that he would have rather died than have her sell herself for him. He called her a stranger. He walked out, and her parents followed, leaving her alone in the palace she had built with her body. She was utterly shattered. The foundation of her entire life, her love for her brother, had crumbled. She fell into a deep depression, canceling all her shoots and disappearing from social media. The empire of Skylar Vox, built on a foundation of sacrifice, now felt like a grotesque monument to her own self-destruction. She was 21, a millionaire, and completely alone. Her salvation began with a single, difficult decision: to tell the whole, unvarnished truth. She wrote a long, emotional letter to her family, not as Skylar Vox, but as Chloe. She didn't defend her choices, she explained her desperation. She wrote about the terror of watching him fade, the helplessness, the love that was so fierce it overrode every moral boundary she had. She sent it and waited, expecting to be disowned forever. Weeks later, Kyle called. His voice was quiet, but the anger was gone. "I'm not okay with what you did," he said. "But I understand why you did it. You were trying to save me. You've always been trying to save me." It was the beginning of a fragile, painful reconciliation. It required family therapy and a lot of honest, tear-filled conversations. They had to learn to see each other not as a patient and a caretaker, or a liar and a victim, but as a brother and a sister who had both been traumatized by his illness. Emerging from this crisis, Skylar Vox was reborn, but on her own terms. She didn't retire. Instead, she integrated Chloe into Skylar. She started being more authentic on her platforms, talking openly about the pressure, the mental health struggles, and the reason she started, not for fame, but for family. Her fans, instead of being alienated, connected with her on a deeper level. The playful energy was still there, but it was now genuine, no longer a desperate performance. Now, at 22, Skylar Vox is a woman who has reclaimed her narrative. The green eyes that once held the weight of the world now sparkle with a hard-won, authentic light. She still lives in her Miami apartment, but it now feels like a home she chose, not a fortress she built. She has a healthy relationship with her family, built on the shaky but solid ground of truth. Her story is a raw, modern parable about the extremes of love and sacrifice. She sold a version of herself to save her brother, and in the process, almost lost herself completely. But in the end, she discovered that the most powerful act was not the sacrifice, but the courageous, painful fight to reclaim her own identity and merge the two halves of her soul into one, whole, and powerfully authentic woman.